Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our third DDC 360 Industry Insights webinar. Thank you for joining us again if you've watched before, and welcome to any of our first-time viewers. Really appreciate you taking the time out today, and hopefully you'll find today's session useful. So if you cast your mind back to the very first webinar, we heard from Kevin Orme, who is the head of FM at Care UK. And Kevin talked to us about how his industry was adapting to the new normal. And he put a challenge out to contractors and suppliers to work together to innovate, to overcome the hurdles and the challenges that the industry was going to face into. Today, we're joined by Nick Moore from Valor Group, who's going to talk to us about how his industry, the hospitality industry, are facing into some of the challenges within their sector, and in particular about how they keep buildings looking good for longer. We're then going to move on to launching some exciting new innovation, something we'll hear a little bit more about in the second half of today's session. There is the opportunity for all of our customers joining today to get a free sample after the session, something I'll talk more about at the end. We are also going to turn over to a live Q&A session at the end. So for everybody that's looking at the screen now, you will see a control panel on your right-hand side where you can ask any questions you want to put to any of our panelists at the end of today's session. So I'm joined by quite a stellar cast today. We have tried to push the limits, and we have 5 speakers today. I've mentioned Nick Moore, who's joining us from Valor Hospitality. So good afternoon, Nick.
Afternoon, thank you.
I am also joined by Gary Jefferson from the AkzoNobel Research and Development team, somebody who's been at the forefront of developing our innovation pipeline. So good afternoon, Gary.
Hi, Holly. Good afternoon, everyone.
We also have Alex Briggs from the Dulux Trade Marketing team, who has the honour of introducing our brand new product later on in today's webinar. Afternoon, Alex.
Afternoon, everyone.
And last but not least, we have Matt Gray from the Dulux Academy, who's going to talk a little bit more about the practical applications of that product. Afternoon, Matt.
Good afternoon. Afternoon.
Right. So we're going to kick off by spending a little bit of time talking to Nick about the challenges in the hospitality sector. So Nick, it's probably a good opportunity to kick off by just telling us a little bit more about Valor Group, the hotels that you operate, and I'm guessing the past couple of months has been really tough.
Yeah, we're 17 hotels in total. We operate from Glasgow down to Plymouth. We've got a range of brands from IHG through to Hilton and Marriott. And we've gone through a stage of having great business to absolutely zero income for a period of time. We've gradually opened hotels in the last 6 to 8 weeks, and we've now got them all open. We've gone through different experiences in the April-May time where certain hotels will look to become hospitals, and they would be completely turned over to the NHS, to opening for care support workers, and we're at a stage now where we're open to the public as well as support workers. So interesting times with different levels of success according to the location of the hotels.
Great news. And I guess in the buildings that you guys look after, that you maintain, they're high traffic areas. So I guess there must be some real challenges that you face into in maintaining those spaces.
The main thing is actually making them look good, and in the current world, making them look welcoming, because you take furniture out. I mean, I'm sat in a bar restaurant at the moment, which normally would have about 60 tables, and it's got 21, I think it is today, and we could sit no more than probably 30 guests in total. And it's a real difference in just the whole feel of the environment. People have got certain routes to come in, certain routes to go out, where they pick the food up, where they pick the drink up from, and likewise in the bedrooms, just completely, they're not stark, but you know, you've taken a lot of things out to make them easier to clean.
Yeah.
So yeah, completely different.
And do you see, talk about like ease of clean, and I guess that that maintenance and that cleaning regime, is there going to be a lot more pressure on the teams that are operating your hotels on that front?
Yeah, massively. If you took a bedroom clean, it's probably gone from 21 minutes to 35 to 39 minutes in a clean, just to demonstrate how complicated it's become in terms of cleaning process, the materials that are used, the clothing they wear, the behaviours in terms of passing guests in corridors, reception staff in terms of taking people's temperatures. But the biggest thing is actually making people believe that the hotels are clean, they're safe, and that you're looking after their well-being as well as your own team, because that is key for everybody's safety and security.
And if you talk about, I guess, the fabric of the building themselves, if the cleaning is going to take longer and it's a lot more intensive, I guess there's more pressure on the surfaces, whether it's a painted wall or a desk or a bathroom or a floor or a carpet.
There is, and I suppose if I'm honest, we don't know the impact of some of the materials we're working with. We've got a process called, it varies depending which company you talk to, but it's called misting, where you put like a spray in the room to cleanse it, but nobody knows what the impact of that will be on walls, wall coverings, paint, carpet, soft furnishings, because it's a liquid. Even though it evaporates and cleans, you don't know what the impact of that is on the surface if we continue that for 6 months, 9 months, a year. We're all sort of learning every day, and that's the challenge, I think.
And I guess there's, with anything like that, there's going to be a cost associated to it, isn't there?
Yeah. At the moment,
as a procurement director, I've asked you the difficult question.
I dither because the costs vary every day in as much that they go up, they go down. It depends on, can you actually get it, and do you have to substitute it? And then it's making sure you've got the right cost sheets in place, the training for the staff changes because the product might change, the awareness of making sure certain products are available for the guests and they can access them, like sanitizer, like rubber gloves. And from this Saturday, everybody in hotels has to wear masks. And then you've got the definition of what is a public area and what was a food and beverage area. You know, it's, yeah, different without a doubt.
I guess you said you're in one of your hotels in Peterborough today. How are the team there? How is everybody feeling?
Good generally. We've got Peterborough's running at about 55% occupancy because they have rail workers during the week and engineers. Weekends are quiet because you've got no weddings, no functions, no 21st birthdays. But generally good. We've put screens up on reception desks. We supported everybody with training before they come back into work. We provide, coffee, whatever they want during working hours. And we've provided the safety material, like screens, throughout. And I've actually been into the gym today and just seen how that operates. It just seems a completely new world where you have an hour slot. You can only use the gym or pool for 45 minutes. Then you have that 15 minutes to get out. Then we have 30 minutes to clean it down. In that 30 minutes, nobody can enter the area. It's just a sort of completely different experience.
I can imagine. Well, thanks, Nick. I think that's a really good snapshot into some of the challenges you're facing in the immediate short term, and I think it really shines a light from our perspective when we talk about coatings about the importance of durability and the importance of working alongside our partners on cleaning regimes and products that help you keep buildings looking better for as long as possible. It's probably a good opportunity actually for me to turn to you, Alex. So I think listening to some of those challenges, what do you think are the opportunities for our DDC 360 customers, whether you're operating a building or whether you're a contractor applying product? What do you think are the opportunities if they can overcome some of those challenges?
Yeah, thanks, Ollie, and hi everyone again. I suppose firstly, before going on to the opportunities, it's probably worth just acknowledging that when you're looking to complete a renovation or conduct maintenance work, particularly on commercial environments, choosing the right paint products and paint finish is one of the most important elements to invest that time in. Getting that upfront research and understanding of different paint finishes and benefits is so vital and incredibly important. Not just because it enables you to achieve the finish that you're looking for the first time round, but importantly, if you want to maintain that just painted kind of look for longer, it's really important you understand that so that you can do it efficiently, you can do it sustainably, but also importantly from a durability perspective, that you can do it whilst taking into consideration the longer term impact of the painting project. So thinking about how you can improve maintenance cycles, how you can reduce the ongoing labour cost of not just materials, but the maintenance teams as well. So it really is important to invest that time in really making sure you choose the right finish. But particularly if we're talking about specifiers, so particularly people in Nick's position, or even painting contractors, when they're particularly looking at completing projects in high traffic commercial areas where they are more susceptible to wear and tear, and they can deteriorate quite quickly, and maintenance costs can skyrocket on quite a quick basis if the correct finish is not used. So really, in order to address these challenges, it's important for DDC customers, whether that's a specifier or a contractor, to really use the finishes that are correct. And in this instance, it's products that offer increased durability, as they're specifically formulated to tackle the challenges of these demanding environments, of which we're all very familiar with. Talking about hotels where we have lobbies where you've got luggage and luggage trolleys as well as handbags. It's very easy for these to create marks on the wall, and it's important to make sure that we're thinking about that, as well as obviously achieving all of the aesthetic benefits that you tend to be looking for. So in terms of the opportunities really that it presents, it's kind of threefold. It's more about ensuring that you create a building that looks good now, but also for the longer term. It's about making sure that maintenance costs are reduced on an ongoing basis, so thinking about the 5 and 10 year redecoration cycle, whilst also thinking about how you want your maintenance teams to work, and making sure that they operate effectively, that they're not having to touch up paint and clean walls all the time, that they're able to focus on the core jobs that they're supposed to be doing. But also finally thinking about the longer term sustainability and environmental footprint of the total decorative project. So by using durable products, these are the real three opportunities that it opens up for specifiers and contractors.
So I guess durability isn't a new need. I think there's obvious pressures at the moment, particularly around the cleanability of surfaces. But this isn't a new challenge. So this is something that you and the team have been working on for quite a while, though.
Yes, yeah, I mean, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, the continuous focus for Dulux Trade from a portfolio perspective is to make sure that we have world-class products, but that are also sector relevant, and to make sure that we're continuously meeting the demands of these challenging environments, so in public and commercial environments, making sure that durability has been at the core of our focus. However, durability has many assets to it and many different elements, and over the course of time, we've innovated and continue to innovate within this platform as the demands constantly change. So for us, we've not just rested on our laurels. It's about taking the Diamond platform, which I'm sure many people are familiar with, forward, and we've continued to iterate and innovate on that particular product, and take it to a level where it's delivering ultimate performance across the various different assets of durability. However, in specific harsh instances, in the most challenging environments, particularly some of those that Nick has referenced, there's still a need to tackle challenges, particularly when it comes to the marking of walls as opposed to the cleanability and washing regimes. It's the initial resistance to those marks which is becoming increasingly important, and that's where we've really focused our energy and attention over the last few years.
Okay, great. Thanks, Alex. So if we turn our attention to where we focused that energy over the past couple of years and the past couple of months, it's probably a good opportunity to bring you into the conversation, Gary. And any innovation comes with significant investment in research and development. And it's brilliant to have you on the call, Gary, because I think it's a really good chance for us to bring that process to life a little bit. It's probably the best place for us to start is at the beginning. So what is the process on how we develop a new product?
Yeah, so kind of building on your comments and Alex's comment, that there was a beginning of this project, but in reality, it's a continuum. So I've been in the company 20 years and worked on durable products for quite a bit of that. So you're obviously building and evolving, learning, taking your products to the next level. But as soon as you're at that level, you're looking for the kind of what next? What's the next level? Where can we take it to as our kind of understanding kind of improves in that kind of area? So scuffing is being a challenge. Our durable products are good against scuff, but there's an opportunity to really take it to the next level. I think if any of you look around the room you're in, unless it's been recently repainted, that there's a fair chance there will be a scuff mark. Only last week I was at the Wexham Park Hospital, which I think has been built 6 months, and you kind of first thing I noticed being interested in there was all the kind of scuff marks, but everything else looked perfect. So I think it's a real problem. And the first thing with any project that we do in product development is really understand the problem, get the right problem. There's lots of what it would have been good projects which have actually addressed the wrong problem. You address the wrong problem, you don't meet a need, and people ultimately don't want to buy the product. So really, we spend a lot of our time reflecting, looking at where scuff happens, what is scuffing, looking at under a microscope, as you can see in this picture. And you can see on the kind of picture what you're getting in scuffing is a kind of depositing of the material that's kind of hit the wall or banged in it, be it a suitcase, be it a sports bag, be it a kind of a shoe. So the scuff mark is the transfer of the material from the product, from the object that's kind of hit the product. So but why is it transferring onto the wall? And if you can understand that, you can then actually stop it or try to stop it transferring onto the wall and getting that kind of scuff mark basically. So just go on to the next slide. So why is it when you hit a bag against the wall or you drag a shoe along the wall, you get this scuff mark? So what it is fundamentally friction. When two objects kind of come together, especially if one's moving, there's energy in that movement, and when they kind of come together, that has to transfer into some other kind of energy, and that's heat. So if you rub your hands together, you will start to warm them up. You'll get friction between your hands, and they will heat up. If you rub a wooden stick on a wooden board, eventually, you'll get enough heat to start a fire. On a kind of more extreme case, a racing car, as it spins its wheels, that energy has to go somewhere, and you get heating of the surface of the rubber, and that turns into heat, and then in this case, kind of you get a kind of a rubber mark on the kind of floor. So these are kind of friction, and really what's happening to the surface of a wall when a bag hits the wall. There's friction between the bag and the wall. The kind of plastic in the bag heats up at a very microscopic level, and that smears this kind of heated up plastic across the wall, and that's what a scuff is basically. So there's a lot of science in what a scuff is, but it's really important to kind of understand that before you then go and try and solve the problem basically. So once we kind of got to this understanding, we knew that we had to somehow basically reduce the friction of when those objects kind of hit the wall, and then you would have much less likeliness to have a kind of scuff mark basically. So we go on to the next slide, please. Friction of a wall in decorative is not something we've ever considered before. It's not really an attribute you look for. You don't get customers come in as the Dulux decorators and they can have a wall that's got low friction. But fortunately, working in the bigger AkzoNobel, there's lots of coatings that we produce in the other sectors where friction is an important element, which they're trying to reduce to kind of get a benefit in the product. So you can see on the left-hand slide is the Intersleek ranges, which are the coatings that we use in ships. And they look to reduce the friction for two things. One, to stop mussels and mollusks and shellfish sticking to the boat. So they stick by sticking to the boat. So if you can reduce the friction, they can't stick to the ship. And if you can stop them sticking, you get benefits in terms of fuel efficiency, because the ship can move through the water much more efficiently. The coating itself, in the fact that it has low friction, means that the ship can move through the water more easily, which means they need less power to maintain the same speed. So it's an energy efficiency kind of improvement. So we spoke to the people, the technical people up there, to understand, how do they do it? What are the kind of things that you bring to the formulation to reduce the friction of their products? We also have Formula One cars. If you saw the British Grand Prix at Silverstone, you would have seen the McLaren, which is coated in a kind of orange. I know that's not the correct name, but an orange coating provided by AkzoNobel, which is also a matte coating, which is kind of interesting. And they're obviously reducing the friction, or helping as part of the overall car to reduce the friction as the car moves through the air, at over 200 miles an hour, basically. So they're trying to help the air molecules smoothly go over the surface of the car and not kind of slow it down, basically. So we also expect those to understand, their approaches. On the right-hand side is a less obvious kind of element. But you would have seen, or you may have seen if you've gone into shops, that there's a kind of trend towards matter coatings on beer cans, which we supply. And why they need to have low friction is, as the cans move down the production line, they have to slide past each other and not mark each other, but have a kind of matte coating. So AkzoNobel have developed these matte coatings, which again, low friction, but a kind of matte finish. So we spoke to all the kind of technical people involved, got lots of ideas for how we can apply that to a decorative situation. And then, basically did lots of testing, lots of different variants, and that's ultimately how we kind of came up with the new Scuff product, basically.
So I guess when you're trying to push durability in a decorative environment, what are the considerations have you got to take into account?
So basically, it's obviously the durability is just one aspect of the coating. It's a decorative product, so ultimately it's got to look good. So one of the real challenges in this product was to really get this improved scuff resistance, but to have a matte finish, because they are kind of pushing against each other to some degree. So there was a lot of work to make sure we get this beautiful matte finish, but get this scuff resistance. There's all the other kind of things that you need. You need a good environmental footprint. It needs to be a good product for application, which Matt will talk about a bit later. But yeah, I think we've kind of got the right balance. We've got a really step change improvement in scuff resistance. I've never seen so many people say wow about a product that we've done. But actually, but it also, I think, is a really beautiful finish and some really good feedback on the kind of application properties. So I think it's this all-round package of the attributes, but making sure we've got that key attribute there, which is really why people want to buy this product over something else.
Great, thanks, Guy. That was really interesting, and I think a good enough tease for us to now move on to somewhat of an unveiling of what we believe to be a solution. So I think we've heard about a bit of background on our innovation process around where we are as a business, and it was great to hear from Nick at the start about some of the actual challenges in a commercial environment. So we're now going to introduce you to the new innovation that Dulux Trade is going to bring into the market. We're going to do that with a short video to start with before I bring Alex back in to introduce you to Dulux Trade Scuff Shield. I really hope a video is playing.
Introducing Dulux Trade Scuff Shield. We all know that painted walls have to work really hard to resist everyday wear and tear, and most struggle to withstand knocks and scuffs. At a microscopic level, standard paints tend to have a rough film, making it really easy for small particles from objects to attach and appear as scuffs. To combat this, we have worked meticulously to engineer a new advanced premium emulsion that has revolutionized scuff resistance performance. Its superior formulation is easy to apply, long-lasting and tough on scuffs. It has been rigorously checked and compared against standard emulsions in a series of controlled tests to ensure it delivers the absolute best performance and durability against scuffing, which is clear to see, as the Dulux Trade Scuff Shield painted swatches remained virtually scuff-free in testing. Dulux Trade Scuff Shield, with ultimate scuff resistance. Scuffs don't stand a chance.
Really glad we got the video to work. That was the one area I was most concerned about today with a live webinar. Alex, so tell us a little bit more about the solution. Tell us a bit more about Dulux Trade Scuff Shield.
Yeah, thanks, Ollie. Always a bit of a nervy moment waiting for technology, but I'm glad that the kind of trailer worked. But yeah, as a sort of my team's been heavily involved in this. Many people across the business have been heavily involved in this for a long time. It's really exciting to see it come together. And there's a longer version that the director's cut of that video is even more impressive. Something that we're really sort of excited about. But to kind of build on that video, really, Scuff Shield is a next generation really of durable products. As the video said, it's been really focused meticulously in design and the way that it was conceived, in terms of it being all about delivering superior scuff resistance versus the comparable products in the market in the durability space. So it's about taking that to the next level, and it's really about how we looked at the problem from the first instance. Like Gary said, this wasn't around iterative versions of our existing durable platforms. It really was about learning from all of those experiences and creating a truly peerless proposition that took scuff resistance to the next level. So the unique formulation is completely different to anything that we've brought into the market before. Everything from the raw material composition to the technology we've utilized enables us to deliver ultimate scuff resistance for even the harshest of environments. But not only that, it comes along with a lot of the other benefits you would expect from a durable proposition. So it is Type C scrub tested at 2,000 cycles, so it meets the British standard testing criteria for this. But particularly one of the big differences with this product, unlike other durable propositions, and particularly the existing diamond proposition we have in the marketplace, is its performance on deep colors. So those extra deep bases where we have a restricted color offering at the moment on existing platforms. The performance that we offer through Scuff Shield delivers unparalleled performance and resistance to things like marring, which really means that we're able to offer this in the full spectrum of colors, and achieving that across deep colors is a very difficult technical challenge to overcome. So to credit to Gary and the team to enable us to crack that. But truly a unique step change in scuff resistance. So it's something we're extremely proud of across the team.
Probably good opportunity actually to bring Gary back in, specifically when we're talking about what makes this different. Alex refers to it as peerless, talking about some of the differences with our diamond proposition. But from a technical perspective, Gary, what makes this different?
Yeah, so this slide just kind of shows you a bit was in the kind of video basically. So the kind of picture on the right hand side shows you a standard product. It's going to be a vinyl mat or a more durable mat. And basically the products have a kind of polymer backbone basically to the product, and then we use minerals, could be chalk, dolomite, to give you the kind of matte finish. These are kind of generally rough particles. They're about the ground. They're kind of milled and processed. The big difference with Scuff is that we've used very carefully selected the kind of particles, the materials that we're putting in to the kind of polymer kind of background to create this kind of smooth surface. But as I said earlier, really importantly, the smooth surface with a kind of matte finish. And I think that's the big difference from a kind of technical point of view. I think what it makes it unique when you kind of look at the market and the products that are out there. I think there are a few products that talk about kind of scuff resistance, And there are a few products which talk about washability. Well, quite a lot of products talk about washability and cleanability, but I really believe this is the only product that brings the two together. And I think that's what makes it unique from a technical and a product point of view in terms of the market. And I think particularly to Alex's comment on the darker colors, that is also, scuff has been a big challenge for the market for a long time, but these dark, deep colors where you get a kind of marring effect, which is lighter kind of scuffing effectively on darker colors. We've also been able to address this with the problem. So that's always been a limitation, particularly in durable products. So I think that those two factors together really make this a unique offering in the market, and basically.
So I think just thinking about some of those attributes, Alex, we've just got an additional question for you, and it goes back to some of the points that you were saying at the start about the opportunities for our customers. I guess how do you see this helping our customers overcome those challenges in delivering improved maintenance cycles and better sustainability credentials?
Yeah, well, I mean, we talk about maintenance cycles and redecoration cycles all the time, and we're forever, trying to reduce ongoing costs for this for our clients. And I think when it comes to scuff resistance and Scuff Shield in particular, because of the way that it's been developed and the smoothness of that paint film resisting scuffs in the first instance, it really firstly reduces the ongoing need for cleaning. Of course, regular maintenance is a requirement, but it significantly reduces that versus comparable or existing durable products on the market, let's say. But we would say for Scuff Shield, we would expect around about an 8-year redecoration cycle on this versus something like Diamond Matte, which would be a 6 years, or a standard vinyl matte emulsion to be much less at sort of 3 or 4 years. So when you put that into context of sustainability, the maintenance of the building is much easier, it's less costly, and you're having to utilize less product and less labor to manage that on an ongoing basis. So there's both significant financial and environmental impacts and benefits of utilizing a product like Scuff Shield.
Yeah, I think where we've been trialing this with a couple of clients in preparation for our launch, one area that's come back strongly is just how much easier it is to clean than other coatings, other durable coatings that we've had in the market previously. So I think going all the way back to some of the points Nick was saying at the start, there's some real benefit for the team that are maintaining buildings. There's going to be so much more pressure on them, and being able to clean surfaces and rooms and corridors more effectively, I think is going to be a real benefit. So the proof is always in the application. I can see some questions coming through already, getting towards application. So glad to see we've got some professional decorators on the line today. And it's a good opportunity to hand over to Matt and the Academy team. So the Dulux Academy have put Scuff Shield to the test in order to help us outline some of the benefits and also give us some hints and tips. So they've put together a video for us, which we're going to have a go at getting 2 in a row and getting our second video to work before I come back and ask Matt a couple of questions. Brilliant. Right. Well, Matt, some good skills there. It's probably a good opportunity for us to bring you in. Firstly, thank you for waiting patiently for the past 40 minutes for your chance to shine in the spotlight. So, how was it to apply? We'll start with a basic question, Matt.
To be fair, it's actually easier that when new products come to market and we see them for the first time, you always try and look at something and think, right, is it going to be easier? Is it going to be something you have to adapt your technique for? And with this one, that wasn't the case. It actually turned out to be easier to apply than our standard vinyl mat or even our diamond mat. So there's no special requirements that are needed to apply at all. So it's like using an old product, but for the first time.
Are there any key hints that came out of you using it that will help people get the most out of the product?
Yeah, I mean the biggest one that we found, certainly through playing around with it, the rolling of it, just using a medium pile woven roller that's been dampened for the first time before you use it, is ideal to get a nice even finish with it. And 2 coats is pretty much all you need anyway. The coverage on all of the extra deep, the medium bases and the white covered fantastically well, so it was very good. The only thing that is a bit of good advice is to actually thin the cutting in down very slightly, which will speed up. Now, unfortunately, on the video there, that's one that wasn't thinned, so that's why it took a little bit longer. So once we thinned it down, the actual application speed is much faster and much more accurate without actually compromising the cutting in or the coverage. The combination of the two does come up with a very good finish overall.
So I'm actually, there's a question that's just come in, which just before we jump to, I guess, broad panel question and answers, there's one that's really relevant to you, Matt. Does the paint flash when you're undertaking spot cleaning? Does it come in a matte finish, and how does it compare to diamond matte?
Cool. Comparison-wise, they do look very similar. With regards to flashing, whether that's related to picture framing, we've had no evidence of any picture framing at all, even on the darker colours, which sometimes you do get that evidence. So making sure you cut in a wall at a time and then roll at a time would negate that anyway. But generally speaking, we get no issues with picture framing. With regards to touching in and flashing at a later date, because of the flat nature of the product, the touch-up is much easier to do. So as long as you're using a like-for-like roller for this touch-up, so medium pile woven mini roller, for instance, when you're touching up the main wall, there's no evidence at all so far that flashing is going to be an issue.
Great. I did think we'd get a question about flashing, particularly where Nick is based. When you look up at a ceiling in an atrium like that, I was looking for any sign of flashing on the ceiling, which I'm pleased to say there isn't. But I thought it might prompt a question about flashing. Matt, Gary, Alex, Nick, thank you so much for answering some of the questions from me, particularly for Nick. It's great to get a bit of insight about the relevance to your sector. And we're going to take the opportunity now to turn the tables, and we're going to ask some questions that have come in throughout the course of today's webinar from our audience. One I'm going to start with, I'm going to send your way, Alex. Why not put this into diamond matte? You know, why would we not just call this diamond matte, and what role then does Scuff Shield and diamond matte play alongside each other?
Yeah, good question, a valid one. I think it kind of goes back to a point a little bit how Gary explained how we've approached the innovation really in this space, in that over the last 20 years we've had durable products in the market through the guise of diamond, and we've learned through that process how to take that innovation to address various changing needs, and we've implemented various different innovation changes and improvements to diamond over the years. So a few years ago we introduced stain beading technology, and only last year we introduced anti-fade. But in terms of the addressing the scuff issue, we really needed to fundamentally understand scuff, how it works, how scuff marks present themselves onto a paint surface, and through doing so learned that actually very new and innovative technology is required to deliver this type of scuff resistance performance. So to take it to that next level requires a completely different formulation, a completely different set of raw materials and way of formulating the product. So for us, it was really about setting it apart to make sure it was a focused performance product around scuff, rather than taking diamond or trying to take diamond into a space that technology wouldn't allow us. So diamond is fundamentally a product that delivers all-round durability. You know, it offers scrubbability, washability, you know, good scuff resistance. But you know, Scuff Shield is specifically formulated to resist scuffs and to improve those cleaning and maintenance regimes going forward. So it was important for us, acknowledging that, you know, there's more expensive materials going into this, new technology going into this, that it actually sat outside of the diamond platform, as it really is, like I said before, a peerless product that isn't about total durability. It's about offering the best of elements of durability with a focus specifically on scuff resistance.
Right. It's quite a nice one here for you, Nick, if you don't mind me bringing you back into the conversation. And I think some of our audience today operate in a number of different facilities management roles. And the question is, you know, we're obviously talking specifically about coatings, but for your total business, what support do you think suppliers that interact with you and contractors can interact with you can offer to help the hospitality industry as a whole?
I think a lot of it's training. We work with you guys, with our property teams. We work with our plumbing contractor in the same way as we do with people like Screwfix. But it's about communication, it's about training, and it's about actually understanding our business. There's nothing worse than having somebody say they're here to help, and you actually say, which was the property you went in most recently of ours? And they go, oh, I've never actually been in one. You need to actually go into the premises and actually understand them, and then come back to us with correct proposals, correct solutions, as opposed to assume you know what we're all about. I think that would be fundamentally key for us.
And there's a second one that's come in for you, Nick, that maybe builds on that quite nicely. As you outlined at the start, cleaning is going to be an increasing cost, it's increasing pressure. And you talked about the support that you could get from contractors and suppliers, but are you seeing businesses that you interact with adapting to this already and bringing innovation or different processes to you to help out?
I think that, yes, I think there's the intention to in the ones we're working with. And the reason I dither on that particularly, I think everything's changing every day. And I think the rules, guidelines, your learning, your understanding of the current situation we're in is constantly developing and evolving. And I think we don't quite know where we're going on this journey or where we're going to end up. So I think people are being proactive, generally, that we're dealing with. But I think I could answer it better in 12 months, which is kind of not answering the question. But I also think people trying to jump on the bandwagon and say, I've got exactly what you want, in actual fact, doesn't help either. We've got to work with the people we've got currently, because in a lot of cases, moving a supplier doesn't actually do anything but create inconvenience and hostility. And hostility is probably too strong, but we've got one person we're using to help mist rooms, which I talked about earlier, and he's actually doing a demonstration for us at our convenience this Thursday in a particular hotel, just because there was an opportunity for him to present it and show it to a new audience. And you know, he could have actually said it'll be 50 quid or 100 quid or 200 quid, and would have probably said yes, but he actually took time out to think about what we were looking for and some questions that had been raised to him earlier. So I think it's an ongoing challenge. I don't think it's a complete. I don't think we know what we're looking for completely.
We might get you back on in
Completely.
12 months' time and ask you the question again to see how things have developed.
Yeah.
Right, it's a good question here. I'm gonna send your way, Matt, to start with. It's a question from Jordan Hampson. How's the opacity compared to diamond matte? I'll probably read on a little bit just to give some more context from Jordan, who believes that the opacity in diamond matte, particularly in white, is poor compared to vinyl matte. So gives him a challenge when he's talking about trade up and durability. So what's the opacity like in Scuff Shield?
In all the colours we've used, so like I say, we've used the dark green and the pink and white. We've had no issues with any of them. I think what you do have to realise with some products, such as the like the diamond range, some of the colours do need extra coats on the odd occasion, and white is one of those. To get the maximum durability out of the product, and occasionally you do slightly get a compromise on some of the coverage. But we've had no issues so far. So 2 coats on all of them so far have covered very well. We've had no problems at all on that.
Okay. Got another one for you, Matt. Sorry, I'm leaning on you quite heavily. And it's a question from Mike Cobb, which I hope is the Mike Cobb that we know and love. Can it be used on wood?
I'm going to say no. Currently not anyway. There's possibly something in the pipeline to do a similar version, but currently what we would recommend is diamond satin wood instead. So it keeps you in the water-based portfolio, and it also gives you the toughness, the durability, and ample durability when it comes to that kind of trim area that's needed. So thanks, Mike, for that.
Thanks, Matt. One for you, Alex. What's the colour availability for this product? As we use specific colours for different ranges, and that's a question from Nicola Bova.
Yeah, well, it's a relatively easy question to answer, actually, just because the product is available in the full Dulux Trade tinted range. So, you know, every colour effectively that we offer. I think when we look at other durable ranges, we know that there is a bit of a restricted palette offering, particularly, you know, when we've looked at diamond, as the reasons that we've discussed on the call. We do that to ensure that we can guarantee the performance of the product across all the colours that it's available in. And there are certain colours, particularly the deep colours, some within that range, that we know that achieving the durability and resistance to marring is incredibly difficult on the diamond range. So we've restricted that offering, but that isn't the case on Scuff Shield. So again, a fantastic element, an attribute for the range to have is that you can have it in any colour.
Yeah, I think that's a really good benefit to a lot of high traffic commercial environments, you know, retail environments or schools or the hospitality sector, and where you want to bring some colour to a building, but it can sometimes be a trade-off on depth of colour versus the durability of the product. So that's great news. There's a question coming that's probably one for me, actually, and well, there's 2 questions. One is, what's the cost? And another question is just a row of pound signs, which I'm guessing is the same question. Scuff Shield is going to be retailed at a premium versus diamond matte, because as both Gary and Alex talked about, this isn't us putting an extra additive into a product that we've already got. It's a brand new set of raw materials. It's a brand new technology base that we're building on now. So there is an additional cost that comes with that. In terms of what that is as a direct percentage comparison to diamond matte, probably my ask of everybody that has that question is to pick up with your account manager, because it is relevant to the pricing that you've currently got on diamond matte. It is relevant to the size of the project that you're working on. So it will be a premium, but what I would just ask is that you pick that up directly with your account managers. Right, I think we've exhausted all the questions that we've had come in. So what I would just say is, if there are any additional, we have got one right at the very end. It's one from Kieran Jones. I'm going to try this one with you, Gary, because it is fairly technical. how does this compare to a heavy duty glaze style product that you potentially would use? So a diamond glaze that you potentially would use in some environments in a school?
Yeah, I think in terms of the performance in purely around scuff, that it probably is quite similar. But I think it's like I talked about earlier, it's that all-round package. It's not just about that one aspect of durability and scuff. So you get the scuff similar to you as to these clear coat diamond glaze products, but you get the matte finish, you get the full color range, you get the application, the opacity, and things like that, basically. So yeah, to cut a long story, similar-ish, but you get the full package of this product that you'd want from a decorative wall paint as well.
Yeah, I think similar to the conversation that we were having about diamond matte and scuff shield still being part of one offering, diamond glaze is obviously part of that as well, and it plays a key role in certain environments. There's one question which I will answer. Actually, it's one for you, Alex. When is the product available?
Yeah, well, obviously exciting times, and we're having this webinar for a specific reason, and that is because the product is landing in our warehouses pretty much as we speak. So the shipment into all of our warehouses is happening today and tomorrow, and effectively the product is available to order from the 10th of August, which is Monday next week. So great timing to be aware of this fantastic innovation, and obviously with it just around the corner, you know, plenty of opportunities to think about what projects may be on the horizon where this is suitable.
Brilliant. I think that is probably a good place for us to end. If there's any questions from anybody that you think of afterwards, or you haven't had chance to have answered by the panel today, we'll either answer it in the roundup that we'll send out on email afterwards, or we'll come back to you directly. Also in the email follow-up that you'll get, it's got my email address in. So if there's anything that you think of afterwards, please don't be afraid to send that in to me directly. Just want to extend a massive thank you to everybody that's joined us today. I think the numbers that we started with, everybody stuck with us for the full hour, so I'm hoping that means it was a useful session. And just a massive thank you once again to Alex, Gary, Matt, and Nick for joining today's call. Some really useful insight and an exciting opportunity for us to launch something that we think could be a real game-changing innovation in a commercial market. So thanks everybody for joining. Just going back to the point I said at the start, so everybody that's joined today, we'd like to send you a free of charge 5-litre sample of Scuff Shield. So if that's something that's of interest to you, then your account manager will be in touch. If you're not entirely sure who your account manager is, please send me an email and we'll make sure the right person gets in touch. And the last ask of everybody is, if you do get the free samples through and you get an opportunity to use it, please make sure you feed back. It's great for Matt to talk about how it's applied, and for Alex and Gary to talk about the benefit that it can give to your ongoing maintenance cycles, but we'd love to hear directly from you as well. So please use my email address to send through any feedback or direct it through to your account manager. I think on that note, we can bring today's webinar to a close, and please watch out for our next instalment. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Ollie.
Thank you.